Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. It's Thursday. I'm back. I just came in from Canada, snuck in the back door. I'm at Gillette Stadium right now with Philly Special PA in the house, where we get to sit down, break down the Eagles week off, get healthy, await who comes in. Just 2 wins away from the Super Bowl. I know this guy's jacked up. I got a question, though, that's been on the top of my head for a while now. Never asked him, and we're going to ask him this question to start. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Dan Alexander.
Happy to be here with you, Jeffrey. Always excited, man, when Thursday rolls around. Whether I get a little tardy or not, we got to get the actionable info for the folks. I was just getting ready to head on out. I've been doing a little training, wearing my Broad Street Run shirt, getting ready to go, doing some running and whatnot. But, Jeffrey, you know when the bat signal comes up, I'm always going to answer the call, baby. It's great to be here with you, man. And I'm glad just for my mental health's sake alone, no Eagles game this week. So I need a little respite after these last few weeks have tested my patience with the Birds.
The question that I have, and the world wants to know, of course, Philly, one of the big things that they're known for is their cheesesteak. And I know when I go down to Philly at some point sooner than later that you're going to take me around to all these different ones. And
I know them all.
We will pull a Dave Portnoy, and we will start our own reviews of the Philly cheesesteak. See a lot of pictures of a lot of these places that do them. My question is, cheesesteak, is it always A, with Cheese Whiz, and B, is that your go-to, or is there places that use mozzarella or whatever, but it's always usually Philly cheesesteak is with the Cheese Whiz?
Terrific question, Jeffrey, because depending on who you'll ask, you'll get a different answer from just about everyone. There's these haughty toddies who say, oh, we only have the Cheese Whiz for the tourists. You know, that's what we give to the tourists. A lot of them, they go with a good sharp provolone. They go with American cheese. I'm a firm believer that if you like it, you eat it. So I've gotten cheesesteaks that have had Cheese Whiz on them that I've downed and I've loved them. I've got them with mozzarella. I've got them with provolone. So the traditional Philly cheesesteak, in my opinion, as long as it has cheese on it and you got to get it with the onions, that's a Philly cheesesteak. You hear these people with green peppers in it and whatnot. Like, if that's what you want mushrooms in it, be my guest. But a traditional Philadelphia cheesesteak, I would personally say probably American cheese or provolone cheese and onions. But if you want Cheese Whiz, get Cheese Whiz. If you want to put ketchup on your cheesesteak, put ketchup on your cheesesteak, man. I don't judge. I'm not the one eating it. So if you like it, do it how you like it, man. But I got some good spots. Actually, I'll pull this up for you. You know that I like cooking every now and then. That's a newbie original right there. That's what I make. I take a little Cooper Sharp cheese. I take a little white cheddar cheese. I make a little roux, and I make my own Cheese Whiz using 2 different kinds of cheeses. Put a little onion in that bad boy. Put a little cherry pepper aioli on the bottom of the roll. That's the way that I do it, Jeffrey.
Wow.
I don't mess around. So what we'll do, we'll go on a cheesesteak tour, and then I'll take you to Casa del Newbie, and I'll throw down for you, and we'll see. Do I compare to the big hitters down there in Philly? But, man, I love me a good cheesesteak. That's why I got to be running all the time so I can eat all these damn things, man.
Sold.
I got you, Jeffrey. I got you.
Congratulations. You finally got the number 1 seed. We would obviously, a lot of people wish there was a week or two earlier, but you don't have to worry so much with the ring rust, as we'd like to say, with the month. Do we play Jalen? Do we not play him? We talked last week. Assumed there'd be a lot of the plays not in the playbook. We don't want to get him hurt. We talked about the 1 yard, guys pushing him. How many times does he pull back from Miles Sanders, Gainwell, Scott, or whatever, and actually run the ball? Some wide open passes, little array. Give us your thoughts on the performance of Jalen first. Secondly, the Eagles overall. I mean, it was box to wire. There was no doubt. We talked about first half, get in, get out, move on. Where you sit right now with a week off?
I think they need the week off badly. And there's all the talking heads, man. I can't even turn on the radio here in Philadelphia because the sky is falling. Somehow, my dad said it best. He goes, maybe they should just change the Philadelphia Eagles team name to the Yeah Butts. Because these people around here, Jeffrey, most wins in team history, only the 5th time in team history that they're your number 1 seed heading into the NFC playoffs. And it's all, yeah, but they barely beat the Giants. Yeah, but they lost to the Cowboys, even though Gardner Minshew was playing. These people will never be satisfied. And I look at what they did in the final week of the season. It was a big reason why you and I said, take the 14 points with the Giants, because what do the Eagles care if they were getting margin against a team that they could potentially see in a week's time in the playoffs, that the Giants can go on the road and upset Minnesota, which there's some sharp bettors, 67% of the money in the marketplace on the Giants getting that 3 on the road in Minnesota. So, I didn't take anything out of that final week other than the game plan was make sure Jalen Hurts doesn't even get breathed on. Smart job by Jalen going down early. He wasn't extending plays. He was just doing what he had to do to win the football game. And that's what the Philadelphia Eagles did. They put it on the foot of their kicker. They would get into field goal range. They would have the opportunity for Jake Elliott to kick it through the uprights, and he did just that. They got the win. They got the bye. I'm not going to complain about it a little bit because now we have a week to rest. Now we have a week that hopefully Jalen Hurts' shoulder is feeling a little bit better. He's not practicing today, not going through contact today. So, I said it when that happened. The first show after Jalen Hurts' injury, I came on with you and I said, this team isn't telling you the truth. He is more banged up than this team has let on. And hopefully now that he has over a month basically to recover, he'll be able to get back at full strength. He will not be playing as timid as he did in week 18. He is the kind of player who is going to go out there, whether he's 100% or not. Think about what he did in that Bears game. He was banged up early third quarter, and he made a game-winning throw, absolute dime to A.J. Brown, despite the fact that he didn't know if he had a broke collarbone or not. So Jalen Hurts is going to be fine. The thing that I'm more concerned about is, do we get that right tackle back? This Philadelphia Eagles team needs Lane Johnson to be on the offensive line. Future Hall of Famer. He's on the longest stretch of not allowing a quarterback hit for an offensive lineman since entering the league. And this team, 4-12 straight up if Lane Johnson isn't in the lineup. That's the injury that I'm tracking more than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to be able to figure it out. This Philadelphia Eagles team needs to reestablish the run. Having Lane Johnson anchoring that right side of the offensive line is the biggest part of that.
Listening to the so-called experts, the check marks, the big platforms, and looking at some futures, you're the favorite at plus 170 this is on DraftKings, plus 170 to win the NFC East. San Fran plus 180 to win. Surprisingly, and I'm going to get to this, Dallas at only plus 500. And I say only for a reason. We'll break that down. And then the others are big time dogs to get there. I'm trying to break this through in my head here, and maybe you can help me out. If the Giants upset Minnesota, you're facing the Giants because they'll be the lowest seed, correct?
Yep. So NFL does the playoffs correctly. There are a lot of leagues that don't reseed afterwards, one of which right behind you got the Premier Lacrosse League banner. That's one of the things that gripes me every time. When you're the top seed, you have earned the right to play the lowest seed every single time. So the NFL does it right. Whoever is the lowest seed, let's say, hell freezes over this weekend and Geno Smith goes in and defeats the San Francisco 49ers. The Philadelphia Eagles in that case would then be hosting Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. So whoever the lowest remaining seed is, that's who's going to be coming to Philadelphia. If all things break the way that I think they will this weekend, which will give away some of the plays I'll be giving away a little bit later, I think it's part 3, Rocky and Apollo Creed, Dallas, Philadelphia, prime time, Sunday Night Football. I think that's going to be your matchup come the divisional round, Jeffrey.
And that was my lead into the next spot, was because the way I have this broken down, it was looking like you were going to have an NFC opponent. That's where I was going with this.
Agreed.
And again, let me ask you now. I mean, a lot of the naysayers want to say, you banged up. You played your best football at the start of the first half of the year. Jalen Hurts, you're losing the tackles. I know personally, and I know you know, to go in and win a game in Philly during the regular season is one thing. To win in the playoffs is a whole nother world. Just look what Andy Reid did there. Insane is being polite. Now we're going to add weather, yada, yada, yada. Dallas at only plus 500. Now this, listen, I'm not a Dak fan. I'm not a McCarthy fan. It doesn't end well, especially in the playoffs. Okay. The public's all in on Tom Brady and the Bucks. Okay. Tom's never lost to Dallas in his history. Okay. People are getting a little amnesia on the brain here. Tom was favored a couple of years ago in the season opener against Dallas. They won that game. He was favored in Dallas this year in the season opener, and they won that game. Yet they're 3-point dogs. That's the real number. Now it's down to 2.5. I think you're going to see Dallas. Give me a week, 10 days, initially how that bodes with you, knowing there's a good possibility in comes Dallas.
I'd love to see Dallas again, to be honest with you, as a Philadelphia Eagle fan. I mean, just as a football fan, too, having a storied rivalry coming to fruition, an NFC East rivalry in the home stadium. That's going to be one of the hottest tickets in recent Philadelphia sports history, if that is the matchup. I mean, it'll be a pretty damn hot ticket if it's Tom Brady even coming to town. But I think you saw, even when Gardner Minshew was in the game, that the Philadelphia Eagles schematically match up well with the Dallas Cowboys. I actually run through the whole NFC, and I think schematically they match up with just about everyone. I mean, San Francisco is the one that probably gives me a little bit of pause just because of what they're able to do defensively. D'Amico Ryans, who, if he's not a head coaching candidate this upcoming season, the NFL is fumbling the ball. What he has done with that defense, and sure, they have talent all over, schematically what they do is just a thing of beauty. So that's the team that really gives me the most pause. You would look at Minnesota, some people maybe, and they would say, oh, well, they'll have revenge on the game. There's no way the Eagles will blow them out the way that they did. The reason why the Eagles blew them out is because this team has 70 sacks. Like this team has just piled onto quarterbacks. And what's the way to ruffle the feathers of Mr. Kirk Cousins? It's to get around his ankles. Then the picks are going to be flying up there. So, I think they match up fine with everyone. The one that gives you pause is going to be San Francisco. The other one that's going to give you pause is just Tommy Terrific. You have to always worry when the playoffs roll around. If it is a one-score game and there's time left on the clock, Tom can maybe find a way to find his way into the end zone. We've seen it too many times, but I don't know. I think you hit the nail on the head. Who is not going to be rushing, whether you're a sharp, a square, a rhombus, like our guy Dave Sherapan likes to say? Who's not going to be rushing to take points at home with Tom Brady against a team that all the national pundits are saying limped into the playoffs? Dak is done. All he does is throw picks, this, that, and the other thing. I look at this Monday Night Football game. It looks like a slam dunk spot for Dallas, and I'm going to wait. I see that still, we're juiced. We're around 2.5, looking at bookmaker 2.5, 117. So you're still juiced to Dallas. So, if we can get a 2 come game day, I don't think you're in any rush to bet Dallas is what I'm saying. What I would do now is get the dream team or dream spot teaser. We're taking Tom Brady up to 8.5, right, Jeffrey? I mean, we have to do that, right?
Listen, it was funny because we had a good friend of yours, Andrew McGinnis, on before we started our show, and he brought up the teasers. And I know you and I on our show, you always come up with your teaser for the week. And there are a couple spots. Again, if you like the Jaguars, you take them up to 8.5. You're getting them over the key number of 7. If for instance, you like Tom and the Bucks, you got it at 2.5. You're taking that as well up and over the mark there. So there are some dream scenarios where a two-team teaser does come into play this weekend.
Well, and the one that I locked in early in the week, because I have a lot of boots on the ground, a lot of ears to the ground, however you want to say it, on this East Coast with a lot of these teams. So, I have a really nice pulse on who's going to be in, who's going to be out. Have a guy who is a beat writer that covers Baltimore insanely close. I just, when this line opened, I said there is no way that even if Lamar Jackson does play, he will not be 100%. There is a lot of turmoil going on in the locker room. There's talk of people potentially being soured on Harbaugh as the head coach there. They're definitely sick of Greg Roman. So you look at a Cincinnati team who is highly motivated. Sure, the defense matches up nice for Baltimore, but when that opened at 6.5, I grabbed that as quick as I could, Jeff. So the other leg for my teaser, it's gone now because you're not going to tease down from 10 or 9.5 on Cincinnati. I'm never going to ask you to lay minus 140 on a 7-point teaser either, unless you're making it a 3-legger and you're getting a plus money take back. So this is my pat on my back. Here's my closing line value trophy. I have Cincinnati down to the half, just win the game against Baltimore. And I took Tampa Bay up through that 8.5. The one that I look at that concerns me is I would love to make a case for Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars, but my worry with that team, Jeffrey, and I want to get your thoughts on this, how much of this Jacksonville team is just happy to be there? You know what I mean? They're hosting a playoff game. It's exciting. And I'm not saying Doug Peterson, he's a great motivator, clearly a great underdog coach. So, this looks like it may be a slam dunk spot for Jacksonville. But then I can't talk myself into the LA Chargers side because I can't stand what Brandon Staley does. I think he misuses his talent more than any coach in the NFL. Put Mike Vrabel as the head coach of the LA Chargers, man. And that's a team who's 11 wins, 12 wins, year in and year out. So I can't talk myself into the Chargers side, but I think the bigger game script to me tells like a blowout, like 10-point win for the LA Chargers. So I would love to put Jacksonville up in the 8.5. I love this Tampa Bay up in the 8.5, but I just don't know what to pair it with. Like, do I just go square and take the Giants up? Like, it's not that great to take them up to 9. But the teaser that I loved, the ship has sailed, which is why I suggest you to follow me on Twitter at Newbie Talks, because if I'm firing, I'm usually tweeting about it, and you can hop in with me when the tweets go out.
I'm so glad you brought up the Ravens in Cincinnati because last Sunday that number was 9. I think it closed at 11, to be honest with you.
And that's the right number.
Exactly. And so I saw some 6s and 6.5s, and my spidey senses are up. I'm like, oh shit, that's Lamar playing. Something smells to holy heaven. The guy hasn't practiced since December 4th. Okay. So then I saw it go to 7, 7.5. Some colleagues, some people asked, Jeff, what's going on? I was like, well, obviously it's trending where Lamar's not going to play now. And now they're holding out to see, is Hundley going to play? Well, guess what? There's flat 10s across the board right now. That's telling me I don't think Hundley's playing either now.
And even if Huntley does play, are we that enthused about backing Tyler Huntley? Like, if you look at his track record as a quarterback, like, I've heard a lot of these, and I got caught up in it too, because I heard the talking heads talk, and I was like, well, they must know something about it not being that stark of a drop-off from Lamar Jackson to Huntley. I should have grabbed the numbers in front of me. It is a hell of a stark drop-off. Are you kidding me? I mean, the straight-up numbers are bad for Huntley. They're not covering spreads. I think people got enamored because the first game that he was in a year ago when Lamar Jackson was hurt, I think they did cover, and I think it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers at that time. And then people were like, oh, maybe this guy, he could be something because he's running around. The offense is still running the exact same way. The difference is Lamar Jackson is a different player. Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate year in and year out. But here's the thing, outside of the players on the field or anything. Like, have we seen Lamar Jackson around? When he's on the sideline, does he look like he's engaged? This is an absolute textbook example of botching how to handle a quarterback. And I think part of it is because the concern of the play style of Lamar Jackson. He's always one play away from having that be the end all be all on what he does. But now they're going to slap a franchise tag on him. If I'm Lamar Jackson, or I'm reading this Lamar Jackson situation, how much of it has to do with his knee is still hurting, and how much of it has to do with what the hell am I going to go and shred up my knee more for this team when I could get a bag next year from the 49ers or from the Dolphins? Or, I think that he's making business decisions. If the relationship wasn't as soured, I don't know if we see this month plus absence for Lamar Jackson that we saw. That's just the way that I'm reading it, and kind of what I'm hearing from the people who are close to the organization, that there is a serious disconnect between this team wanting Lamar Jackson on the field and him saying, my knee still hurts a little bit.
I'm so glad that you're taking it to this level, because I've been talking to a lot of people, and this is exactly how I'm reading it as well. And
yeah.
I said, if I'm Harbaugh, I'm going to management, I'm going to the owner and looking them straight in the eye and say, how much longer am I going to be here? Do I have 3 years? Do I have 4 years?
Yeah.
Do I have 5 years? Am I in the future? Because we've seen Lamar. We know his MVP. He, like you said, he's one play away from taking it to the house for 80 yards with his legs. He's another play away from missing 2, 3, 4 weeks. Yes, we can franchise him next year. Yes, we can franchise him the year after. But I'm also saying to myself, is it time to rip the Band-Aid off, almost like Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love? If I get the okay from upstairs, I'm going to say this: Lamar, go to Miami. Go back home. Go take over that team. You got Tyreek. You got Jalen Waddle. Okay? Go run with them. We still have Huntley if we want to stick to this script, where I'm going to say Jimmy G's available, Derek Carr's available. Let's draft the quarterback, and then let's bring in a couple wide receivers. Our running backs are fine. Our offensive line's fine. Our defense is great. Let's now get the offense that is now part of the NFL offense of 2023 and moving forward.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's crazy to talk about, because I feel like Harbaugh is such a well-respected coach too. But when you lose a locker room, it's the same kind of situation that I look at Andy Reid's departure in Philadelphia. I mean, no one was knocking the merit that Andy Reid is an insane talent evaluator. He's a terrific coach. You could argue if he gets out-coached on game day, but when a fan base sours on you, it's one thing. When the locker room starts looking at you sideways, that's when it's a whole nother thing, which is just wild to me. You think about this guy's a two-time, Super Bowl winning head coach. He's been around, he's well respected across, and now you're talking about a situation where year in and year out they're in the playoffs and he's on the hot seat. I think the only thing that would bring that about is a locker room that's really just starting to say, man, you really screwed over our guy Lamar, and I don't know how much I want to play for you. You're always going to get something on the defensive side of the ball. Like, let's take that part out of the equation. Like, Baltimore's defense always going to be special, but Harbaugh, he's an offensive kind of guy. He's a run the ball kind of guy. I think people are starting to look at him sideways in that locker room, and when that happens, I don't know how you convince me to put my hard-earned money on them, even when they're getting 10 points and more, man.
I looked at the look ahead. We talked to Jeffrey Benson. He has it on some tweets out there. A dream matchup of San Fran traveling to Philly right now could be a pick. It could be Philly -1. It could be San Fran -1 by kickoff. Again, we're not putting the horse before the cart, but let's just say everything breaks correctly, and that's the way you're sitting. Thoughts of a potential Philly San Fran pick 'em -1 +1, 1 win away to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think bags will be coming in on San Francisco regardless of what the line is. So if it opens Philadelphia plus or -1 at home, I'm taking San Francisco up in a teaser. I'm going to be sitting there with my app ready to go and ready to fire on that one. Give me 7 with San Fran, because then you can do the exact same thing. The line will flip. Bags will come in on San Francisco. They are going to be the wise guy special here in the playoffs. The line's going to flip, and then we get the Eagles up to 1, Eagles up to 1.5. Give me the 7 on the Eagles, and then we're playing for a field goal game. That's the way that I'm going to attack it. And that would be the NFC Championship game if that's how anything breaks out. But I just got to see who their opponent is going to be coming up here, because I think they match up nicely with teams. But we'll see, man. If it's Dallas, Philadelphia, you throw out the records, you throw out the lines in that one. If it's Tom Brady, I'd probably lean towards taking those points with Tommy Terrific and saving myself the agita of not only losing my mind up in my season ticket seats up there in section 205, but losing my wallet too, trying to back the Birds. But we got action this week to talk about, Jeffrey, so we can break down the lines for whoever the Eagles are going to be facing. I want the Eagles out of my mind for a weekend, man. I need a mental break for a little bit. And if my ass is saying I can't talk Birds, it's time to turn the page there. So I want to get your thoughts. I'm gonna run down just some real quick plays and get your thoughts on these. We'll start at the top of the board. First game of the weekend, Seattle, San Francisco. I got this one from my man Joe Ranieri over at Wager Talk. He makes a great case for the first half under in Seattle and San Francisco. Shop around. You can find it 21.5. If you want to hear Joe's full breakdown on the game, head on over to the Wager Talk TV YouTube channel. Check out our flagship show, Bet on It, with him, Kelly Stewart, and Marco D'Angelo. Joe with a terrific breakdown on the game. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Potential weather in San Francisco, bringing the rain down. And you look at a Brock Purdy who apparently is now Joe Montana. I get it. He's been looking good. 2 touchdowns here. Good performances, not making mistakes. However, he is still Mr. Irrelevant, a rookie quarterback making his first start in the playoffs. If he would have jitters, if he would have some issues, wouldn't it be early on in the game and maybe a wet game? Both of these teams probably focusing on running the ball, not trying to have Geno Smith turn over the ball. So 21.5 in a sloppy slugfest to start off. Divisional game where these two teams know each other. Pete Carroll, the defense coming alive, is a big part of how they were able to sneak in there. I think the game total under is live, but first half under 21.5. What do you think about that one, Jeff?
It's funny because the line is now 9.5. It's dropping. I don't know if, again, you're hitting that key number of 10 to bring it to 9.5. Gino and Pete Carroll have had a great year. Hats off to them. I think their preseason under-over was 4.5, some spots 5. They had great success against the 49ers. I think you're spot on about the Brock Star, Mr. Irrelevant, Steve Young, Joe Montana, and the fact that the 49ers are also undefeated since the trade to McCaffrey. I've been waiting for the brain fart. I've been waiting for the hiccup. It hasn't happened yet. When you're telling me 21 and a hook, you get me that hook. What's the first half going to be? 13-7, somewhere in that. I can't see Seattle getting to 10. Does the 49ers get to 17 is the key number for me there. Most likely 13, 14, maybe a 10 spot. Weather, rain, slick ball. I love where you guys are on that one.
Yeah, great handicap on that one from Joe Ranieri there. The other one, we'll move down here. We'll stick here on Sunday and look at this New York Giants Minnesota game. Jeffrey, you're one of my total guys, man, and I just. How the hell does this game not go over? Who is stopping who in this game? There's not one player on the Giants that can even slow down Justin Jefferson. There's not one player on the defense of Minnesota who wants to get in the way of Saquon Barkley. They've had a week of rest. I think it might be a little clunky out of the gate. So maybe you wait for a 3-and-out back and forth for Minnesota and the Giants and you hop on the in-game over. But I'm going to lock it in. 1 unit for me, Jeff, grabbing that 48. There's some 48 in a hooks at some of the sharp shops. So you're my total guy. Is there any way this thing stays under 48? There's no such thing as a lock, but Jesus Christ, how does anybody stop anybody in this game?
It's like, listen, I have about 750 shows on YouTube right
Yeah.
now. Not one has ever been scripted. It's like you have my notes here. It's just like I've been talking to everyone here. I'm like, if I ask you, there's 6 games this weekend, 6, and I told you Minnesota and Giants has the highest under over. I'm like, I flocked to the over immediately, and it had gone to 48 and a hook. It's back to 48. I'm looking at your spot at Wager Talk now. It's some team totals. Giants 21 and a hook over minus 125. Minnesota 24 and a hook. When I see a 24 and a hook, I know for one thing that everyone is going to say they're going to get under 24. I like the Minnesota team total over 24 and a half
Agreed.
there. But I was all over that over. Good eyes. Great eyes.
Yeah, so always love it when we're simpatico. Maybe that 1 unit going to turn into a 2 unit, but I think you maybe could see some sputters out of the gate just because Daniel Jones, first playoff game, there's going to be some nerves for this Giants team. So if they get the ball first, 3 and out, maybe I'll stick with my 1 unit play on over 48 and a half. If we get a 3 and out both ways and we can drop down to 46 and a half, I would love that. I would probably go 2 units live on that, but that over there. And then my play of the weekend, I love this one, Jeff. We're talking all about this Cincinnati, this Baltimore game. You know I love my player props, brother. And this seems like a horribly mispriced number. I'm looking at Joe Mixon's receiving yards total. Joe Mixon, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, receiving yards. I was able to shop around. It's up to 25 and a half in some spots. I was able to get 24 and a half minus 114 on FanDuel for the over 24 and a half receiving yards. And here's my thoughts. Banged up receiving room for Cincinnati. What do they do when they do the best is they dump off passes. They're able to have a lot of yards after the catch. And with the receivers a little bit hindered, Joe Mixon has been a major emergence. And when people hear the name Joe Mixon, they think ground and pound. They think what he does in the run game. Look at what he's done in receiving since the, end of October. 3 targets, 3 catches, 33 yards against Atlanta. Next game, 9 targets, 32 yards against Cleveland. Carolina, 5 targets, 58 yards against Carolina. Then he plays a divisional foe. They're going to be able to hinder him. They know how to stop him, right? Pittsburgh Steelers, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 42 yards. We had a bit of a hiccup the second time around against Cleveland. He gets 2 targets for 10 yards, but then 3 straight weeks, Jeffrey. Tampa Bay, 6 targets, 33 yards, 9 targets, 43 yards against New England. And then most recently against the team they're playing this week, 5 targets, 5 catches, 41 yards. This is a wrong line on Joe Mixon. 2 unit play for me. Joe Mixon over 24 and a half receiving yards. Thoughts?
No, I love it. The Bengals have been a machine. They love their backs. It was about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, Mixon put together a 5 touchdown game. He gets hurt, insert P. Ryan. P. Ryan takes over. They didn't miss a beat. They got a 2-horse backfield there. That's what I think honestly separates them between Kansas City and Buffalo, where when you got to move the chains, especially in the fourth quarter, these guys can move the chains with Mixon, with P. Ryan, where Kansas City's got to go to some kind of trickery. And Buffalo, I don't think they trust Cook enough right now. And you can't hand the ball to Singletary, 4th and 1, and just hand it to him and expect him to get it. So this is the separator. I love what your eyes are. I think you're spot on here.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because if we're doing, since it's wild card weekend, we always have to do our way too early predictions, right? I would sprinkle a little bit on Super Bowl matchup being Cincinnati taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not sure what that plus money take back is, but if you're asking me, early on here in the playoffs, obviously things can change. Obviously, we'll continue to update it every week that I come on. We'll say, well, what do you think now? Well, what do you think now? Me before wild card weekend, give me the Bengals making the trip back against the 49ers. And if I had to call it right now, I think Joe Burrow's hoisting the trophy, smoking a cigar in the locker room. Give me Cincinnati to win the Super Bowl.
We had right before they got on this roll, we gave out on a few shows the ECSI VIPs We have some 11-1, 12-1 tickets on them hoisting the trophy. We're excited there. And the
We
same
made a lot of money on them last playoffs. Remember that, Jeff? We've been cashing on the Bengals and Joe Burrow for a while now, man.
And the same can be said about the Niners before they got on their run. And it was funny, when we gave it out was the weekend that Jimmy G got hurt. So I'm like, shit. And then in comes the Brock Star, and the rest is history there. So we could have a repeat performance from way back, right? Niners and Bengals.
Yeah, that we go hop in a time capsule and get that one going. And again, I wish I could come on here. I wish I could tell you. I've said every time I've come on here, Jeff, I don't think it's a Super Bowl or bust year for the Eagles. I think they've had a great year. I'm not going to end it all if they can capture some of the magic they had early on in the year, but so often it's all about winning the games towards the end of the year. There's something to be said about peaking late. I just worry that maybe these Eagles reached their zenith a little bit too early on in the season, and the injury bug and the turnover bug has started to bite them since then. I hope I'm eating my words. Maybe I am picking the 49ers for a little reverse jinx special, but as it stands here today, I think they should be your odds-on favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think that's a decent bet.
Scroll has been going the whole time, Dan, at Newbie Talks at Bet on Lacrosse, the cash consideration show, Wager Talk, 8:30 a.m., WEEU, and of course, Premier Lacrosse. I know I follow every one of those spots. I know I follow you like clockwork, but to the newbies and the people watching and listening, where can they find you?
Nice and easy. As Jeff said, he does a great job setting it up. The scroll's been going. You can find me at all of those places at Newbie Talks on Twitter, NEUBYTALKS. Follow me. Tweet at me, slide in the DMs. They're always open. I love giving ideas back and forth. And, you reach out, we have a good conversation. I'm going to hit you right there with the follow back, and we're lifetime simpatico. That's the way that I do it. Once you're in my circle, we're rolling and going to the top. So with Jeffrey, always love it. As always, when we're on together, take the over. And take the over while you still can at 48. New York Giants, Minnesota. One of the plays that Jeffrey and I, a Boston and Philly special on that one. Let's get that one home, Jeffrey. I'll be in the DMs victory lapping once we get that over in the first half.
Well, I got some cigars right here in the humidor, too, that I'm waiting for. So I'll get the mailing address and get those right over to you. Maybe we get
a cigar after a cheesesteak tour. That doesn't sound too bad. Save those bad boys for Philly, brother.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Dan Alexander at Newbie Talks. We wish everyone a blessed day. Had great time catching up to PA in the house. Everyone enjoy yourself for Super Wildcard Weekend, and we will see you soon.